Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our channel once again. Yesterday, I came across a very interesting post online. In that post, former IEBC CEO James Oswago had revealed 7 ways to rig elections in the Republic of Kenya. And Oswago added that if Kenyans want an election where election is perfect, then they must rectify those 7 ways. Swali, can there be a free and fair elections in Kenya? I want us to analyze that post. But first of all, I want to make it very clear that I'm not so sure whether the post was by James Oswago. But because in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence, and that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objectives, I'm convinced that someone somewhere is keen to achieve certain political objectives through that post. And that's why I want us to remove the name Oswago James from that post, but focus on the 7 ways listed. Before we get into all those details, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. This is the poster. According to former IBC CEO James Oswago, there are 7 ways to rig an election in Kenya. The 7 include gerrymandering, ballot stuffing, ballot purchase, state violence, digital manipulation, integrity of electoral management body, manipulation of the reports of election supervisors and monitors. Ladies and gentlemen, this post is adding that Oswago is warning that the 2027 general election may lack credibility due to unprepared commissioners. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to go through those 7 ways to rig elections in Kenya, because someone somewhere is preparing the country. Let me ask you this question. Can there be a free and fair elections in the country? I doubt, because all those 7 ways of rigging elections, in one way or the other, they must take shape. The first one they're talking about is gerrymandering. What is gerrymandering? Simply means manipulating the boundaries of an electoral constituency to favor a political party, a tribe, or let's say, a class. Let me use Kibra and Langata as a case study. Previously, we used to have Langata constituency, which was represented in parliament by none other than Raila Odinga. During boundaries review, it was split into 2. But the way it was split was such that the people who were splitting it wanted Kibra to remain predominantly the Luos, so that the other side could vote the other way around. And that strategy is always used in most cases. Even in the villages, you find a ward is split in a way that some areas are forced to vote the other side, just to stop them from influencing the results of the other area. The reason this issue is coming up is because ideally, we are supposed to have boundaries review. So Kenyans must be very alert on that. That's a strategy. The second one they're talking about is ballot stuffing. What is ballot stuffing? Simple. This used to happen during Moi era a lot. I think with the introduction of Kim's kit, it has reduced, because Kim's kit was intended to reduce the idea of going to the polls, then you insert that ballot paper into those boxes. So in most cases, like during party nominations, what happens is that at some point, lights will go off. Then someone anakuja na the ballots which are already pre-marked, forcing them in there.
We are the first one to raise that alarm. As remember, in the morning at 6, the first ballot paper that was found was in Invita constituency, where there was some kind of a marking on Uhuru Kenyatta's name. And we came and said to them, raised our concern to them, that this is not the way it's supposed to be. So I'm told that now during closure is when some of the people from the other side are bringing back that discussion. So my concern here with the rest of the team is very simple. It has to be level playing field for all of us.
I think it also happened in the last election. There are areas where it happened. And that's why during elections, it's normally possible to see the electronic system going down.
You can say something, please. Let Kenyans hear your voice for the first time. Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting this. It's very disappointing for the machines to not be working on the day that's most important to the lives of all Kenyans concerned. So you all remain vigilant, remain cool, remain calm, and we'll see this thing to the end. So, thank you.
What's your name? We call for vigilance. I hope that we'll not hear that Kim's kids have failed. And I said in the strongholds of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, we knew there was a plan to fail them, right? And that if that happens, then at least we have the registers, the manual registers. They should come in so that every Kenyan will be able to vote within the time limits up to 6 o'clock. Yeah. So no Kenyan should be denied the right to cast their vote. And again, I discourage any attempt by goons. The other candidates who are hiring goons, I'm told, in the case of Wiper, for example, there are people who sense defeat and they want to come and cause disruption. I think the presiding officers and the returning officers and the county IBC directors should be macho, including, obviously, the National Police Service and others, so the people can have this kind of atmosphere.
So that ballot stuffing can happen, but it's an old method. I don't think it can apply much this time. Then there is what is called number 3. They're talking of ballot purchase, which simply means vote buying. I've always maintained on this platform that 2027 presidential elections in the Republic of Kenya is going to be the most expensive elections in the history of this country. Why? Because someone somewhere is going to buy voters. Most people believe that William Ruto actually bought the mountain. In the last election, without them knowing, he used money to manipulate them. William also bought the church in the last election. And that's why we are seeing William Ruto now going back to the churches with those loads of money. The intention is simple, to buy votes. Can that be stopped? I think it can be stopped. But it can only stop if Kenyans will be able to understand what they want. For example, why would a member of parliament campaign with 100 million Kenyan shillings? Why? An MCA who is not going to earn 10 million is spending 10 million to campaign. They're supposed to be servant of the people. So that one will still happen. One which is nowadays very common is what we call state violence. That's number 4. This one will continue happening. Why? Because you look at it critically. During elections, political class will always create tension between tribes. During elections, for example, when let me just use the last election. For example, in the last election, Raila was very strong in Nyanza, Coast, and where? And Western. So a perception had to be created that the Luos are violent. So during or on election day, police would always be sent there to cause tension. Then from nowhere, you will see tires burning. Women will not turn up. Girls will not turn up to vote. Many people will buy the fear and they don't turn up. It is called voter suppression. It's a good strategy which has been used. In fact, during Moi era, it used to happen a lot in Mombasa, coastal region. I expect that to happen in Mount Kenya in the next election. Number 5 is the digital manipulation, altering of digital images and media using softwares. This is the modern way of rigging. The reason Msando was eliminated was because of this. He wanted to stop it. Why do you think Jose Camargo became a subject in the history of the Republic of Kenya? Because of this. For those who followed the IBC portal as the results were being relayed, that portal there was fake one. It was not the actual portal. And that's why in some areas, there were even more people voting than the registered voters. So this is likely to happen. So anybody who wants to stop rigging will have to deal with digital manipulation. Number 6, they are talking about the integrity of electoral management body. In the last election, we had Wafula Chebukati, who was the CEO of IBC. Go and dig the history of that guy. And once your integrity is put to question by the government, you become their stooge. You become their stooge. For example, how did Wafula Chebukati end up printing ballot box, Form 34A, Book 2? How? Do you know the cost of that? Who footed those costs?
Night. One result Form 34A from Rukwaro Market Polling Station, Rongo Constituency, Migori County was erroneously transmitted to the Presidential Results Portal. The Commission will await for the original Form 34A, validate it with the presidential agents, and thereafter replace the said image in the portal once that validation is completed. Another incident is that 2 incomplete Form 34Bs from Aina Bukoi constituency, Wasingishu County, and Saboti constituency, Trans Nzoia County, were erroneously uploaded in the Commission's portal.
And lastly, the manipulation of the reports of electoral supervisors and monitors. You see, normally Kenya has a robust strategy or plan of averting these rigging schemes. One of them is that forms are signed and are delivered. physical forms. In the last election, what was the role of Gladys boss, Sholei, in Bomas, for those who remember, manipulating of these reports? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not so sure how 2027 election is going to happen. But one thing I'm sure about is that it's going to be very difficult for the players to stop rigging. But they must try to stop it. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye-bye.